This video was brought to you by Embedded System Solution, a company composed of like-minded electrical engineers, computer engineers, and computer scientists, and whose main goal is assisting our engineering customers, non-engineering customers, and technician level customers with their electrical and computer engineering level and technician level needs. Our customers range everywhere from engineering students to university professors, technicians to engineers, junior engineers to senior engineers. Please feel free to visit us at www.embeddedsystemsolution.com. Again, www.embeddedsystemsolution.com, or better yet, email us at support@embeddedsystemsolution.com. And like always, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like. Okay, so this is a continuation of the previous video. So the assumption now is that not only have you installed Git, but you also have configured Git, especially on a Windows computer. And now you're officially ready to use Git. Now remember that Git, there's 3 reasons to use Git, and one of the reasons is version control, and you can use it by itself. And so to many people that are just looking for version control, this would be the last video that they would watch in the series. It's not suggested, you continue watching it, but this is a basic of how to use Git. This is rubber meets the road, the basic commands, and you can use Git without doing backup or multiple collaborators, right? And so remember this that we showed before, so all of that, the theory, this would be the theory. Now it's the practice, like actually implementing Git, right? And going back and switching branches. Okay. So you have the computer, you have Notepad, and so this is, you run the command git version, right? And this is what you, not only when you run the command, but this is what you get, right? And so that, why do you do that? That just lets you know that you have Git installed and it's ready to be used, so that's what you should be expecting if everything was configured correctly. Now you cd into that. We're going to be creating a project. We're going to be a project folder where we have all the files. And again, it's not going to be a C program or a HTML or a website, only because we're looking for understanding Git, not everything else, right? And so we're going to cd into users, Emilio Zapata, and documents, right? And so that's where we're going to create the project folder. And that's where everything's going to be named, right? So the first step is cding into the directory, and there you can see, so there you're cding into users, Emilio Zapata, and documents. So that's officially the working directory, right? And so now you're going to create a directory, a project folder that has all the files, right? And so that's the command that you run. This is Windows, so that would be, everything is command line, right? And again, if you're using Git and DevOps, this is perfect. Understanding the command line is better. Even if you're using a GUI base, like some type of GUI add-ons, it's better to learn the commands, because there's, just like everything else, there's just more that you can do with the command line than you can do with the GUI, right? The GUI really restricts Git, which is something you don't want to do. So anyways, you're going to create, after you change directory, you're going to create a folder, and obviously this is going to create a folder. So that's my project. And now you're going to cd into the folder, right? So you're officially, the only thing you've done right now is just you created a folder and you changed into that folder, change directory. You really haven't gotten a Git project. You haven't initialized it, right? And so here you can see that you're inside of the folder. And by the way, this is the command line. So dir la /la, it's the command, so you can list all the files and folders within a directory that you're in, right? So that's the Windows version of it. So the Windows command. So again, as you can tell, there's no files in it, right? Because you just created the folder, right? Or we just created the folder. Git status. So as of right now, there's no, if you run the git status command, obviously there's no Git repository. You still haven't done anything other than create the folder and cd into that folder. And so, and basically there's no files, but still there's no Git repository yet, right? And so we're starting from scratch. This is starting from scratch and using Git. Again, it's already installed, right? And so you want to initialize the folder, right? And you can do this after you create the files, but this tutorial makes the assumption that you're starting from scratch and you're trying to do the right thing, which you're going to eventually do every time you create a project folder and you have Git installed and you know Git, you know what you have to do. So you're going to run the command git init, and that officially initializes an empty Git repository. So now it creates that hidden folder, the .git folder that we've talked about, And now you can start doing version control, right? But it's officially a repository now. Now, if you run the command, there it is. Can you see my project? So my project, there's the folder, and it's a hidden folder. Just also remember that, right? And so now if you run that command, the /a, now you can see that there's a directory and it's called .git, right? And again, that's where the repository is at. That's the rubber meets the road. Remember, rubber meets the road. Okay. Now, let's suppose you want to see the file in the command line in the file explorer, right? Basically, now we're switching to GUI, right? Let's suppose you want to see it, which is fine. You know, that's if you want to see that folder, that particular folder, this is the procedure to see it, right? And so, of course, you run file explorer options on the Windows, on the bottom Windows. That's if you're using Windows 10, which you should be, you know, and then obviously you click on open. I'm sorry, it's not aligned. Hopefully all the other ones are aligned. And this is the file explorer options window that you should get. And you should click where it says show hidden files and folders in the drive. That way you can see the .git folder. And again, if you're seeing it, just be careful. And if you see it in the file system, you're going to see a whole bunch of files that you've never seen there before. And that's because the hidden folders, they're hidden and now they're being exposed. So this is more for developers, just for curiosity purposes. But you can unclick it. Like afterwards, after you see it, you can show don't show hidden files and folders. And again, there's a reason why it's hidden, so you won't destroy your Git repository. But still, this is in case you want to see it and make sure it's there. This is what you do to get it, right? So there it is. Okay, so that's the GUI version, right? So back to the command line. You know, so now you have the Git status, right? So obviously you're on the branch master. It lets you know information. So if you run that command, it gives you information. You're on the branch master. There's no commits yet, of course, because there's nothing to commit because there's no files in there, right? And so now you're going to create a file. Now this is the command line for Windows, right? So in this case, you're creating an empty file called purple.c. And again, it's just easier, you know, it's just easier for us. Yeah, it's just easier for us. So it's just the only thing that you've done is you just created a file. That's about it. You know, and there's the directory of my project. And if you want, if you run the command dirt again list, now you can see that not only do you have the .git folder, but you also have that purple file. You know, it's a .c file, right? And so now, if you run the command git status, notice the difference. Git now actually recognizes that, hey, there's a file in there. Not only is it on track, but it changed. You know, well, not changed, but it's on track file. And it hasn't been committed to the repository. It hasn't been added to the repository. So Git lets you know. And a nice thing about Git, it actually tells you the commands, what commands to run. And so it even tells you on tracked file, and it tells you what to do to track it. You know, so Git add file. So let's do what it says, right? And so you run that command, git add purple.c. And now if you run the git status command again, you know, so there's the command that you run it, you know, git add, and you have nothing returned, so nothing happens in return. But you run the git status, hey, now it changed. Now it went from not to add it, changes to be committed. Oh, so you added the file, but you still haven't committed it. So it's letting you know, hey, you added the file, so it's being tracked already, but you still haven't committed to the repository, to the .git folder, right? And so, as you can imagine, there's another command to do that, but it actually tells you, you know, what to do. But it tells you if you want to remove it, by the way, but you don't want to unstage it. So anyways, let's just keep going. So now you're officially ready to commit. You know, this is your first commit, and this is the way I do it. You can do it otherwise. So you run the command git commit -m message, but you can actually put the message from the commit. So every single commit, you're supposed to put like a custom message that mentions what changes, what you did during that commit, and it can be as long or as short as you want. It's good that it's descriptive, right? The first commit, I mean, you know, so for simplicity's sake, right here, the statement is very small. We just put first commit, you know, but you can make it as long as you want, and you should make it as long as you need to, as descriptive as it is. So that way, every single commit, you know what was added or what was removed or what was done during the commit process, right? And so this is the command that we do. So officially, we're moving a copy of the purple file to the repository, right? And so there it is. So if you run that command, now it's telling you, hey, you just added it to the repository. Hey, congratulations, you did your first Version control. If you actually notice after running this command, if you look at the top left, you can see the My Project. Notice how the project folder, there's a snapshot and it gets saved into the .git. Now you're gonna have to memorize this because we're gonna go back to this. But notice how the snapshot, the picture, is exactly how the My Project folder looked when you did the commit. And that's gonna matter right now because for every single commit, you're gonna see the picture, and just take into consideration that hey, it's gonna be the project folder, how my project looked exactly, the files and the contents of the file. It's a snapshot, and that's how it's gonna look like. But in this case, we're only adding files, so just keep that in mind. So